My mom, we moved to another state last week. We forgot to tell you. The words hung in the air like a stone dropped in water. 5 seconds passed before I could even breathe. My fingers were frozen over the phone. I wanted to say everything and nothing all at once. Instead, I swallowed hard and spoke in the calmest voice I could summon. "It's fine, sweetheart. Good luck." I hung up and sat in silence, the weight of the call pressing against my chest. Then, as if guided by some instinct I had spent decades sharpening, I opened my laptop, the one I had bought myself after my retirement, insisting it would help me stay connected, even though the years had made me feel less relevant. My name is Maris Alden. I am 65. The screen glowed in the dim kitchen light, but my mind was elsewhere. Memories of long nights helping Emily with homework, of birthday cakes baked while juggling overtime at the hospital came flooding back. All the sacrifices I had made, the savings I had poured into her future suddenly felt fragile, as though someone had slowly chipped away at them over the years. I opened my email and typed Jordan Klein's address. My lawyer, who had guided me through every major decision since my husband passed 10 years ago. I attached a folder carefully built in secret over months, a file that chronicled every document, every transaction, every subtle slight that had been pushed aside as normal family disagreements, loans signed under pressure, expenses I covered thinking I was helping, and legal nuances I barely understood. All were carefully compiled. My hands trembled as I hit send. A quiet click closed the connection, leaving me alone with the hum of the refrigerator and the faint aroma of coffee from the morning. For years I had chosen love over dignity, swallowed offenses, justified the unjustifiable. But this moment was different. This was a line drawn. I leaned back in my chair, feeling both exhaustion and an unexpected spark of resolve. Emily's voice had been distant, almost mechanical, as if she were reading from a script someone else had written for her. That small admission, that casual forgetfulness was the culmination of months, maybe years, of being invisible in my own family. I pressed the laptop closed, took a deep breath and glanced toward the stack of papers I had been organizing for weeks. It was time to face the reality I had been preparing for, quietly, meticulously. Time to let the file speak. And in that moment, I knew that nothing would ever be the same. I remember the nights I stayed awake by Emily's bedside when she had pneumonia at 7. I rubbed her back, counted her breaths, whispered, "Mom's right here." I was 29, barely settled into my life after Greg passed, and suddenly it was just the two of us against the world. "Mom, I'm scared," she whispered one night, her small hand clutching mine. "I know, sweetheart. I know," I said, pressing a kiss to her damp hair. "But you're strong. You've always been strong." Those were the moments that built us. The quiet hours between hospital monitors and textbooks, where I learned her favorite lullabies, and she learned my face would always be a safe harbor. I sold my grandmother's jewelry to pay for her first year at the university while juggling 2 jobs, just to keep our apartment warm and lights on. Every cent, every hour, every tired sigh was for her. She used to run to me after school, eyes sparkling, and say, "Mom, you're my favorite person in the whole world." "I'm your only person," I replied, smiling through exhaustion. In those days, the world outside Portland didn't matter. Her laughter in the kitchen while we baked chocolate chip cookies, the way she tucked her hair behind her ears when she read aloud to me, those small joys anchored me. I dreamed of sending her off to college, of seeing her succeed, of finally catching a breath for myself, and yet somewhere along the way, the closeness slipped. Phone calls became shorter, Questions about my life were brushed aside. Plans I made with love were now too much or unnecessary. I remember one evening when I offered to help with her homework over the phone. "Mom, I got it," she said, voice clipped. "I'm fine." Her tone stung sharper than any harsh word ever could. I held the phone longer, listening to silence that had replaced conversation. It was the first time I realized love could shift without warning, become distant, unrecognizable. I pressed my palms to my face, feeling the weight of years, my sacrifices, and the unspoken resentment that had built between us. How did we go from laughter and trust to this quiet separation? And that distance, that silence is what made in that distance. That silence made Emily's call today cut the deepest. Emily called me one evening, excitement in her voice. "Mom, I met someone. His name's Ethan. He's amazing. He works in finance and he's so ambitious." I smiled, though. A small knot tightened in my stomach. "That's great, honey. Sounds like he has big plans." "Oh, he does. He says I should think bigger, aim higher, not just stay in Portland forever. He's helping me see opportunities I wouldn't have noticed." Her voice was full of energy, almost too polished. I hesitated. "Opportunities are good, Emily. Just remember what matters to you and us." A pause. "Mom, you worry too much. I know what I'm doing." Later, Ethan called. He was smooth, confident, every word measured. "Maris, you raised a remarkable daughter," he said. "But sometimes we need to let her step into her own life, even if it means challenging old habits." I nodded politely, but my heart raced. There was charm in his voice, yet a subtle pressure I couldn't ignore. Emily hung up, glowing. "See, Mom, he's brilliant. He's helping me grow." I stayed on the line a moment longer, hearing the enthusiasm. Sensing the shift, her world was expanding, but I felt myself shrinking in it. Emily appeared at my apartment one Saturday afternoon, radiant, clutching a stack of documents. "Mom, I need your help with these. It's just some refinancing and guarantor forms." "Ethan says it's the smart move." I took the papers, brow furrowed. "Refinancing guarantor. Emily, this is a lot to ask. I don't know if I'm Mom." "Please," she interrupted softly, gripping my hand. "It's only $200,000. It'll secure our future. Give us flexibility. I promise it's safe." Her eyes shone with that familiar mix of excitement and persuasion I had always admired. I hesitated, flipping through the fine print, feeling the weight of every word. I want to trust you, Emily, but this is a lot of my savings." "I know, Mom, and I wouldn't ask if it weren't important. Ethan and I discussed everything. He'll walk you through it." A knock on the door announced Ethan himself. Tall, sharp, his voice smooth as he greeted me. "Maris, thanks for letting me explain. This is a strategic opportunity. Nothing risky. Think of it as a bridge to bigger dreams." I nodded, caught between pride in my daughter and the unease crawling in my chest. I suppose I can review and sign, though it makes me uneasy." "Just sign here, here, and here," he said, guiding my pen with practiced ease. "We'll handle everything else." "You're doing the right thing," Emily squeezed my shoulder. "See, Mom? Nothing to worry about. You're helping me. Helping us," I signed. Each stroke a small tremor of doubt. I tried to push the unease aside, telling myself that this was trust, that I was supporting the daughter I loved. Later, I sat alone, staring at the stack of signed forms. My hand lingered on the top page. The excitement in Emily's voice still echoed, but so did a whisper of warning in my mind. I felt both accomplished and unsettled. That day, I learned how easily love can blur the line between support and vulnerability, and how one signature can shift the balance of trust. When I arrived at Emily's new home, I barely recognized it. Every wall, every fixture gleamed with the polish of wealth and ambition. Ethan stood by the door, smiling. "Mom, everything is perfect. You'll see how efficiently we've set things up." I stepped inside cautiously, carrying a basket of linens. Emily appeared behind him, bright and eager. "Mom, we saved a space for you," she said, gesturing to a tiny room at the end of the hall. The bed barely fit, and the window looked out onto the side of the garage. I forced a smile. "It's cozy. Just for a little while," Emily added. "Until everything else is ready. You'll have your own bathroom eventually. Don't worry." I placed the linens on the bed and noticed the rules posted on the fridge. Kitchen hours 8 a.m. M to 5 p.m. Only use the dishwasher after 5 p.m. Guests allowed with 24-hour notice. Laundry Tuesdays and Fridays only. My pulse quickened. Ethan's voice followed me as I unpacked. "We just want everyone to live efficiently. These aren't rules against you, Maris. They're for the house." "I understand," I said softly, though the tightness in my chest betrayed me. Emily patted my shoulder. "See, Mom? You'll get used to it. It's all for the best. We're building something amazing here." Together but together felt like a word stretched too thin. I glanced around the house I helped fund, touched the smooth counters I had signed for, and realized I was just a visitor in a space I'd sacrificed so much to create. Every polite smile masked the strict rules and control they now wielded over the house I helped fund. Later, alone in the tiny room, I sank onto the narrow bed. The house smelled of fresh paint and ambition, but it carried no warmth for me. I had helped build it with love and trust. Yet now I felt like an intruder that night. I understood how a home paid for with your own hands and heart could become the place you feel most invisible. I returned to my apartment that afternoon, carrying the last of my things from my old kitchen. The mailbox was stuffed with envelopes, many addressed in Emily's neat handwriting. One caught my eye, thick, official. With my name printed in bold, I tore it open carefully. $200,000 owed. I muttered, my hands trembling, my pulse raced as I rifled through the stack. Unpaid property taxes, loan notices, statements for accounts I didn't recognize. Each envelope made my stomach twist tighter. I dialed Don Mauricio immediately. "There's something wrong," I said when he answered. "These are all in my name, but I don't calm down." "Maris," he said. His voice was steady, but I could hear the tension behind it. "Send me copies. I'll review everything." I gathered the notices, snapping photos, scanning what I could. Emily called while I worked. "Mom, are you okay? That looks intense." "Intense doesn't cover it." "Emily, why are these loans and taxes in my name?" My voice shook. Ethan said it was standard paperwork, but even then, I hadn't authorized any of it, she said brightly, unaware of the storm in my chest. I hung up and continued sorting transfers, payments, guarantees, all tied to me, all without my consent. Don Mauricio called back within the hour. "Maris, this is serious." He said, "Your name is being used as collateral. These are debts, not just paperwork. They're using your credit, your assets." I sank into my chair, gripping the edges of the table. Betrayal burned hotter than I expected. The daughter I had raised, trusted, and supported was now linked to every potential loss, every financial trap, every risk I never agreed to take. I stared at the mountain of envelopes, the proof of everything they thought I wouldn't notice. Every letter was a reminder of how far they'd gone, how they had exploited the love I gave freely. And in that quiet apartment, with the afternoon light casting sharp lines across the floor, I realized something. I realized I would have to fight to reclaim my name, my assets, and my dignity. Somewhere between anger and disbelief, determination settled in. The mother, who had given everything, would not allow herself to be erased. Not now. Not ever. I spent evenings alone in my small study, the apartment silent except for the hum of the laptop. Emily and Ethan thought I was resting, complying with their rules, but I was gathering everything: statements, emails, loan agreements, even photos of receipts they assumed I'd forgotten. The doorbell rang one afternoon. Jordan Clean, a sharp-eyed attorney I'd been referred to by Don Mauricio, stood there, briefcase in hand. "Maurice." "Thank you for seeing me," he said, shaking my hand firmly. "Call me Maurice," I said, motioning him in. "I think you'll want to see everything." We sat at the kitchen table. I spread out the documents slowly, deliberately. All of this is connected to my daughter and her husband. They've used my name, my assets, and my credit without my consent. Jordan's eyes narrowed as he flipped through the papers. "You've documented everything meticulously. This is a strong foundation." I nodded, trying to hide the tension in my hands. "They think I don't notice that I'm too old to fight." "Age doesn't matter," Jordan said quietly. "Truth and evidence do, and you have both." As he left, the weight on my shoulders lifted slightly, but the file sat open on the table. Every page a reminder of betrayal. Every page a promise that I would no longer be silent. The phone rang just as I was finishing tea. Emily's name flashed across the screen. I took a deep breath and answered. "Mom, we moved to Boise last week," she said, her voice light, almost rehearsed. "We forgot to tell you." I froze for 5 seconds, letting the words sink. "It's fine, sweetheart. Good luck," I said evenly, hanging up before she could add another excuse. The apartment was quiet again, but the tension remained. My heart still raced. Boise, farther than I could have imagined. Yet all the loans, the mortgage, the refinanced accounts, they still bore my name. I opened my laptop, fingers trembling. Jordan Klein's address was saved with deliberate care. I attached the file I had been building for months. Statements, emails, transfers, photographs, everything Emily and Ethan thought I hadn't noticed. I pressed send. A quiet click and the weight lifted slightly. The file was in the hands of someone who understood the truth, someone who could act, no more pretending, no more silently covering for them without acknowledgement. Boise might have seemed like a fresh start, a chance for them to avoid facing their misuse of my assets. But I had the evidence, the law, and the patience to ensure distance did not equal impunity. The courtroom was quiet when we arrived, the air thick with expectation. Jordan Clean gave me a reassuring nod. "Stay calm, Maris. We have everything." I nodded, clutching my briefcase, the file inside heavy with months of evidence. Emily and Ethan were already seated at the defense table, their expressions polite but tense. "Your Honor," Jordan began, standing with authority, "my client, Maris Hale, has been misled and financially exploited by her own daughter and son-in-law. We have documentation, correspondence, and records proving the misuse of her assets." Emily's eyes widened as he pulled out photographs, emails, and statements. "Mom," she whispered, her voice cracking, "do you deny sending these transfers in my name without authorization?" Jordan asked sharply, pointing to a spreadsheet detailing thousands of dollars in loans and payments. Ethan stammered. I thought it was all okay. She said she trusted us." "She trusted you," I said, my voice steady. "And you took advantage of that trust." Every document, every email, every transfer, they all show the truth. Emily's hand shook as she covered her face. Ethan slumped in his chair, guilt washing over him like a tide. I didn't know it would. You didn't know, I repeated, voice quiet but cutting. You built a house, a life, a narrative using my name and my savings. You made me the guarantor of your decisions without my consent. That is fraud, Emily. That is betrayal. The judge leaned forward, scanning the documents. This evidence is substantial. The court acknowledges the deliberate misrepresentation and unauthorized use of the plaintiff's financial assets. Consequences will follow. Emily's tears fell freely now. Ethan's jaw tightened. Neither could meet my gaze. I felt a quiet vindication, the weight of months of careful preparation lifting slightly. Jordan placed a hand on mine. You did the right thing. The gavel struck, and the reality set in the law was on my side. Consequences would be enforced, assets would be recovered, and for the first time in years, my voice had authority. My life had boundaries. As we left the courtroom, Emily whispered almost inaudibly, "Mom, I'm sorry." I walked ahead, the sun on my face, the file still in my hands. Words were not enough to repair trust, but justice had finally spoken. The moment I stepped into my new apartment, a sense of quiet settled over me. The walls were bare, the space small but mine, and for the first time in years I felt control. Jordan Klein had confirmed everything. The agreement was voided. All unauthorized transfers reversed. My assets were restored, and the mortgage on Emily's house no longer carried my name. I set down the file that had defined the last 6 months of my life and let out a long breath. No calls, no interruptions, just silence. A message popped up on my phone. "Emily, Mom, can we talk?" I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the reply button. My instinct was to answer immediately to bridge the gap, but I paused. This time, my healing mattered more than apologies or explanations. I texted instead, "Not right now. I need space. I'll reach out when I'm ready." I walked to the small balcony overlooking the Willamette River. The water moved steadily, indifferent to the chaos of the past months. I poured myself a cup of tea and sat, letting the rhythm of the river echo the steadiness I was reclaiming inside myself. Later, Jordan called to confirm that all legal notices had been served, that the freeze on Emily's assets was in effect, and that the court recognized my full authority over my property. His voice was calm, professional, but warm. "You did what you needed to do, Maris. Now it's time to live for you." I smiled quietly. A small, private victory. I had navigated betrayal, taken back my dignity, and created a life where my choices mattered. No one else dictated my hours, my space, or my peace. I tapped the phone lightly. "Thank you for your support. Comment below if you've ever had to reclaim your life and dignity."